Prince Harry has waded back into politics when nobody wanted him to, delivering apparently a keynote speech at the United Nations in New York to mark Nelson Mandela Day for reasons that completely baffle me. Can't think of anybody less qualified of the 8 billion inhabitants of our planet to talk about Nelson Mandela than Harry. But anyway, he decided to do that and bang on about stuff like climate change. Let's take a listen.
We're living through a pandemic that continues to ravage communities in every corner of the globe. Climate change wreaking havoc on our planet, with the most vulnerable suffering most of all. The few weaponizing lies and disinformation at the expense of the many. And from the horrific war in Ukraine to the rolling back of constitutional rights here in the United States, we are witnessing a global assault on democracy and freedom.
We are witnessing a global assault on democracy. And you have all got to take climate change seriously, even if I use private jets like a taxi service. Do you hear me, all of you? Do you?
When did he become this miserable guy? He's so miserable and pompous and po-faced. Oh, I know. It's when he met Meghan. All right, let's... A little earlier I spoke to Ndaba Mandela. He is Nelson Mandela's grandson. He didn't even know Harry was making the keynote speech to celebrate his grandfather's legacy, let alone lecturing us all about climate change as he uses jets. I had a wonderful 15-minute meeting with your grandfather many years ago, 2003. I've never forgotten it, like most people who met him. He was an extraordinary life force, one of the most inspiring people I've ever met in my life. What was it like to be his grandson?
Of course, it's also quite amazing, and I must say it's very humbling to see the admiration, the love and respect that he carries throughout the world. And whenever people, meet me and other family members, they are very much touched by that we're so close to the man. So it's a great honor for me to be his grandson.
So a lot of speculation today about Prince Harry making the speech at the UN in New York on Mandela Day and talking about your grandfather. Do you think he was the right choice to make a keynote speech today that's getting so much attention?
Well, our families do share a relationship. We've always been fond of Harry coming over to Johannesburg, and so has my grandfather over the years. So for us, I believe that if there is a platform to communicate something, maybe an initiative perhaps, or something that needs to be implemented, I think anybody should really be able to take the platform and be able to, to put their money where their mouth is, or to lead by example.
Did you know that he was making this speech?
I didn't know, to be honest. I only found out on, I believe, Friday, when I was actually speaking to one of your producers. I was quite surprised, I must say. Yeah. But like I said, as long as it's something of substance in relation to our grandfather's values that he would like to implement, I don't see the problem.
Meghan and Harry had a book written about them with their sort of tacit approval called Finding Freedom. And obviously your grandfather was The Long Walk to Freedom. Do you see any obvious parallels between their battles for freedom?
Of course not. There are no parallels at all, Piers, because you'll see one is obviously fighting for the dignity of black people against a vicious tyrant like apartheid, obviously, as opposed to one finding their own identity outside a said institution. Obviously, these are very different things, but I guess how you define freedom for an individual can be different. And maybe for them it was a real struggle to finally make that decision, number one, and to also be able to carry out. Just because you got to that decision, it's always easier said than done. So to some extent, maybe that's how they felt. Obviously, those are definitely two worlds apart.
But you can see, to put it mildly, your grandfather spent 27 years in a 6x6 prison cell. It's a rather different struggle, some might argue, than the struggle that Harry and Meghan have had to leave a palace and go and live in a mansion.
Definitely two worlds apart. They cannot be compared on any level, for sure. But My friend, you yourself have also compared yourself to Nelson Mandela. You talked about a long walk to the freedom of speech. Wasn't that you, my friend?
Well, I think
Yes.
the example I use, and you're right to pick me up on it, but the example I used was I think your father was a great proponent of freedom of speech. And I think he would absolutely have said that everyone, as you indeed have said in this interview, everyone is entitled to their opinion. I think he felt very strongly about that. In fact, when I met him, he expressed himself in very forceful terms about a number of issues. And I think he would have been incensed, actually, about the way that society is moving to try and suppress freedom of speech.
No, definitely. Freedom of speech is one of the pinnacles of freedom, of course, of one's expression, and obviously one's ultimately determination to lead one's own nation.
I mean, the great power of your grandfather was that he always practiced what he preached. He never expected people to do something he wasn't prepared to do if he said do it. I think the problem people have with the Duke and Duchess of Sussex is they often, for instance, on climate change and carbon footprint and so on, they often practice a rather different thing to what they're preaching.
This is true. This is true, Piers. Every year we have the World Economic Forum, and you have all these heads of state coming in on their own private jets talking about climate change. So I think it's time we hold our leaders accountable and really let them put their money where their mouth is and say, if they truly believe in climate change, whether it be Prince Harry, whether it be a head of state, people need to be held accountable at the end of the day.
Do you think Harry should stop using private jets if he wants to keep lecturing us about climate change?
I mean, like anybody, who is, putting their foot forward about a certain topic, they have to lead by example.
And that would have been absolutely the mantra of Nelson Mandela too.
100%.
And Dad, but it's great to talk to you. You're a chip off the old block. It's like talking to a younger version of your grandfather. So I've really enjoyed the conversation. Thank you very much. You've even got his laugh.
No. Thank you. Thank you very much, Piers. It was really great talking to you. Hopefully I'll get to see you in studio one of these days.
I would love that. Next time you're in town, come in. We'd love to see you. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much, Piers. Have a lovely evening.